Hello everybody, this is Dr. Allie, the Hormone Success Doctor, and we are here for the final Let's Talk Menopause party. So we've been doing a monthly Let's Talk Menopause webinar for the last year, and with outside speakers, and today we've got three wonderful speakers, so we've been extra lucky, and I'd just like to warn you that this does not count as medical advice. Although I am a doctor, this is not the same as medical advice when I'm in a one-on-one face-to-face situation with you. We're just and we recommend that you take what you do as what you can as knowledge and our sharing of our experience, and seek advice from a trusted medical advisor when you are implementing things. And the other thing I'd like to say is that we will be using images from this for our marketing, our social media marketing and things. So if you don't want your name and face to be showing, then by all means turn your video off and have a pseudo name, which I can see several people have. And if you'd like to ask any questions, just write Q before your message in the text box, okay? Then I will coordinate those questions at the end. I'll speak at the end because then I can be completely flexible about how much time we've got. But we have actually found that the questions are better coming after each speaker, which wasn't how we originally ran it. We originally had questions right at the end. But it works really well if people ask questions while when the speaker's just finished talking and the ideas are fresh in their mind. So we're going to start with Maria, and then Claudia, and then Catherine, if that's okay. So first of all, Maria, I know Maria from my nutritional endocrinology course. She's a certified nutritional endocrinology practitioner and insulin resistance coach, as well as being an awesome personal trainer. She's going to teach us or share with us some ideas around exercise for bone health and why bone health is so important in the menopause and perimenopause. Maria, over to you.
Hello. Can you all hear me well? Yes, awesome. So I will start saying thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. Second, I'm going to say you can detect an accent. So you have a British accent to me. I have a Brazilian accent being here in Atlanta in the United States. So don't feel, awkward saying, what did she say? Put on the chat, I'll be able to clarify, but hopefully I will be just fine to you. So, I'm very excited about talking and exercise and menopause and how exercise impacts bone health, because one is, I think everybody in this community over here is here because it's premenopausal or menopausal and is concerned about their aging process. Is that correct? And I'm going to be active and asking you to raise hand, write on the chat and that kind of stuff. So, participate as much as you are able to, because that makes a difference. All right. So, exercise to me as a personal trainer was one of the first things that I actually turned to when I decided to leave my corporate career to health and wellness. Why? Because one of the things is movement is indispensable, but at the time I didn't think it was so indispensable as my knowledge has grown into. We sometimes think of, okay, we have to exercise and we have to. I'm here to tell you that we get to. Because this is a choice that I'm going to show you today that is so important for you to make. And I actually call intentional movement. And that is because there is an intention for us to do something, right? And before I talk about, exercises and a few things to do, which I will towards the end, I would like to give you a little bit more kind of a background, and specifically to a couple items related to bone health that is really going to say, okay, I want to take care of these bones. First of all, before I have a presentation, before I go into sharing the slides, which I hope is going to be okay, Allie, to do. Yeah? Okay, great. I would like you to start, but right now, if you can, I want you to grab your bones. I want you to feel the bones. Hey, go through the muscles and feel them. Thoracic over here, we can feel them well. I want you to get your bones in your head. I want you to get touch yourself right now, because I want you to feel, okay, what you're made of. This is so important. We just go about day after day, not really caring for the bones. But today I want to make sure you understand how important they are. All right. So first of all, touching the bones. Second is, now I would like you to give yourself a hug. And I said, thank you, bones, for giving me life and be part of me. And let's stay strong. So you got to hold yourself. You got to touch yourself. I want you to be in touch with yourself. Okay. So, and any questions that you have throughout the presentation, go ahead and ask them. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen over here. And we're going to get started with some information. Okay. All right. Can you all see this screen? A little presentation, PowerPoint? Okay, great.
You can. Perfect.
Excellent. Okay, so, all right. So I'm not going to go to the medical disclaimer. Allie, Dr. Allie already did that for me, so it applies the same over here. So we're going to save a minute or so. So right now, I am 100% positive, 100% positive. Everybody in this presentation sitting here today or listening, okay, want to age beautifully and independently. Is that correct? Raise your hand. Raise your hand, put in the chat, yes, 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 yes. Independently of what? Not that you want to live by yourself. You know, I'm aging actually by myself as of right now. I'm 46. God knows what's going to happen in my 70s, 80s, and 90s. But what I mean is specifically about independently is that you are off of these medications as much as possible, that you can do the things that you love, okay? That you can go for a walk, you can go grocery shopping, you can go to nature, you can do a little hike. Hey, there's people in their 80s who are still doing races, running. So running might not be your thing, but you know what? We need the body over here to do the things that we love. I don't think we get much gratification when we're sitting down, right? Probably feel lame doing that. So that is the perimeter of today's presentation too, is do things so we, have our body ready to do things that we love as we age. So I want to touch a little bit about the bones because they're living tissues. We think sometimes that they're stagnant over here, but there's a lot going on in these bones. And I want you to appreciate them. And that's why I said, yes, yes, yes. Kiss them very nicely. So there's a few functions that I'm going to talk about. One is, they protect the organs, obviously. If you think about how many organs are under, hiding over here, especially in the thoracic part, it's a lot, right? And then they give us also functionality to us, the bones, right? Then surrounded by muscles, makes us strong. The muscles are here also to protect those bones from breaking. But, with the combination of the muscles in the bone structure, that's what's going to make us move and do things that sometimes we take for granted. Now, the bones also store minerals, especially like calcium, phosphorus, and also fats. And the fats come from the bone marrow, right? The bone marrow, the red bone marrow, actually produces blood cells. We don't think sometimes, but yes, it's coming from our blood. So we gotta pay attention to how we treat our bones. And like I said, these bones, the bones will produce the bone cells, the blood cells, which are all the blood cells. So we gotta do it. Right? We got to pay attention to ourselves. Now, another thing related to bones that you may or may not understand is what is called the bone remodeling. That's what I'm saying, is a living tissue, right? All the time. There's every second something is going on over here. So nothing is stagnant. And there is a thing called osteoblast and osteoclast. And I just want you to remember this. Osteo is bones. Blast is blasting out. So it's related to the formation of bones, okay? And osteoclast, like clashing, is destruction, is the breakdown. Now, both of them are very important because, as I said, the bones stores the minerals. And so we need the breakdown to actually take these minerals to the bloodstream and do the magic in our body. So very important. So another thing that I want you to be aware is that is not very common to discuss this, is a hormone that is called osteocalcin. All right. And the osteocalcin goes far beyond bone structure and is involved actually into insulin sensitivity, is involved into testosterone production, is involved into beta cells, which actually there is 50 to 70% of their beta cells, are in the body, and they are producing insulin and much more. So this osteocalcin is basically, is a metabolic kind of function, has a metabolic function in the body. Now, why am I saying this today? It's because first, it's not very well discussed. Two is it's in the bones, right? So there's a few things about the osteocalcin that I want you to make aware, and feel free to continue the research on this, because the more you know, the more you're going to care for your body. And due to the time, I'm going to try to shrink this. Okay, so the osteocalcin actually has a relationship with acute stress response. Most of the time we think about acute response as the adrenaline that runs, right? Well, they're discovering that the osteocalcin hormone actually comes first. So when we have the acute response in the body stimulates osteocalcin to release from the bones versus the adrenaline concept that we think. So yes, that is stress, is right in the bones, and we gotta have it. So now, in order for this to happen, there is a neurotransmitter called glutamate, and the glutamate uptake into the osteoblast is what's going to form, right, the bones, is required for this osteocalcin release during the acute stress response. Now, why is this important? Because this response, this osteocalcin, is going to inhibit the parasympathetic, which is the calming part of the nervous system, to activate, meaning that when we actually have to run from the tiger, or if you're driving and all of a sudden you see a car cutting off, that first response that gets your heart rate up, boom, think about your bones. Okay. Second is this osteocalcin that is also involved into saying, don't calm down right now. I need you to actually veer to the left or to the right so you don't crash. Okay. Or push the brakes, right? So we don't think about the bones for that, but my friend, that's it. It's in the bones. Now, what we're going to talk about, one of the solutions on how to improve these glutamates and osteocalcin, is in what is coming ahead. Okay, so so I call, since we're talking about bone density and bone disease and exercise for bone health, obviously it's always important to understand what osteoporosis is, right? And unfortunately, at age 35 or so, most of the women start losing up to 1% of bone mass every year. I mean, this varies, obviously, totally depending on the childhood, the nutrition, the habits, exercise included, any antibiotics, if the person had a lot of antibiotics because it creates dysfunction in the gut, and so many other things. So this is not 1% every year for everybody, but we start losing that. Okay, so this weakening of the bones impacts the balance of just doing. Some people cannot do this, they cannot jump with one foot. There is many things that people are unaware. They don't try it out. They don't see the problem, until something happens. So this imbalance or, irregularities on balance can cause probability of falling. Right. And when fall happens, that's when fractures can happen. And 90% of the hip fractures comes from a fall. Right. And again, having strong muscles and good bones, obviously, is going to improve the ability of not having a fracture. So here's the thing, 70% of the people who fall and fracture a hip are unaware that they had osteoporosis. I mean, this is amazing, because that's what I'm saying. It's a killer disease. It's going on. We have no idea what's going on, but we only find it when, boom, we potentially fall. So first of all, we don't want to fall. How to minimize the chances of falling is staying strong. right? Is having that balance. It's assuring that if we, for some reason, fall, we are ready, we're protected in a way to not to let any fractures happen. And here's the thing, about 40% of these people who have a hip fracture of the age 50 and above, they will require nursing home care because it's very challenging to take care of the individuals like that. And we're all busy, we have families and so on, right? We don't have, a daughter maybe or a son to take care, or some other spouse maybe with the ability. The issue is that, look at this, over 25% of the people who go to a nursing home, they die within a year. So remember when I told you about the mobility ability? We have to have this. The moment that we this is all of a sudden is out of our life, that we cannot do things that we love anymore, then it starts going downhill. That's mental disease, that's mental issues, that all kinds. And when the body starts getting weak in those ways, and mobility starts being less, movement being less, that is challenging. And you probably have experiences, around your friends, family, that you can understand that. So the osteoporosis really is what, right? I want you to keep a simple, way to understand osteoporosis. Remember when I talk about osteoclast and osteoblast, that needs to be kind of a balance? Unfortunately, as we age, the osteoclast, the destruction, starts increasing, but we can actually regulate this a little bit more, right? So when this is out of whack, okay, this balance, and there is more destruction, it's when the osteoporosis happens. So you can see in the picture over here, the top is like a normal bone with very little space between, the little holes, right? And that's where the bone marrow is actually, in the space, the bone between the little holes, right? Now, when there is bones with issues after the porosis, you can see they're much more fragile because the holes are bigger, so there is less support on the bones in between. So that kind of makes sense, right? It's like having a trunk of a tree that is strong, and then you have just the branches out, right? So the branch is kind of easy to cut, and it falls. You can actually break maybe, with your foot or something like that if it's on the floor. So, think about that. So is that imbalance that it creates the osteoporosis? So what can be causing this bone loss, right? Well, digestive disorders, we don't think about it, but let me tell you folks, a lot of it starts over here on the gut, and I'm sure that Dr. Allie talks a lot about that in her programs as dealing with hormones and things like that. And then there is nutrition deficiencies and, testosterone and estrogen levels when they're low. And I'm sure that you learn more about that in the program, smoking, and there is a plethora of other reasons that you can read on the screen. But I would like to move to one that I'm focusing over here as a key solution, which is how to minimize sedentary lifestyle, because that is one of the key, right, to actually bone health, is not to be sitting all around. And I actually love this description of osteoporosis, or definition by Dr. Russell. Osteoporosis is a hidden tax of high-tech living. It's brilliant, because high-tech living, we don't have to even do much, right? We can get work from sitting, we can get food delivered, we can actually, do everything from the city. We don't even have to go to get up to get the phone anymore. We carry the cell phones right next to us. So, I want you to remember this. The bones, to be strong, they need stress, they need impact, right? Doing nothing is not going to help the bones. It's not going to help our life, period, right? So how can we improve, our bone health? Through movement. And I call intentional movement for the reason I mentioned earlier. So activity, physical activity does matter. And, I know this is all women over here, so I'm going to speak with a lot of compassion, right? A lot of the women, they just focus on going for the walks and maybe a little jog, or maybe if the times of the gym that used to, most people are not going to gyms anymore, right? They used to go to the treadmill, do a little walk, or maybe a little bicycle, or maybe a little elliptical or something like that, and they stay on the cardiovascular. Folks, we need this. We need pressure, okay? We need resistance. Why? Because you want to keep doing the things that you love. You want these bones to be strong. So that's what I want you to think about. I want you to start put on the chat over here, what kind of activities you do, on a daily basis to movement. How often do you exercise? And yes, walking is considered exercise as well. But I want you to think about it as like, what am I doing that is challenging my body, is challenging my muscles, is challenging my bones? Because that's the way we're going to keep, minimizing the negative side effects of aging when it comes to bone density, right? And am I using resistance? And here's where I would like to add this kind of, I want you to focus on this. Maybe you all know this, but these are very inexpensive things that you can own. So we think about resistance is like, resistance training is anything that actually add resistance. So if I'm standing over here, there is not much resistance. Now, the moment that I do a squat over here, now I have resistance, because when I lift myself from, right, the gravity wants me down, but now my legs right now are actually having that resistance of just doing this, right? Especially if I might bounce like this, it becomes harder to get up. And when I get up correctly, I'm using a lot of my leg muscles, my glute muscles, my actually core muscles. So I'm already resistance from body weight. So a plank, what are you doing when you're in a plank? I'm adding resistance because my body wants to do that. What? My body wants to do this. Now here, if I'm doing a push-up, resistance, right? If I'm actually going up over here, bring my leg up over here. That's resistance. There is more. So there is a lot more that we can do without any equipment. But if you want to step it up, think about what is called loop bands, because they're going to add even more resistance. Right? Then you have resistance bands with tubes, they're called, with resistance, because then if you're doing a bicep, right? I can do a bicep with a band, and all of a sudden I have a resistance of the band. I can use these loops over here to do what? To put on my legs, to put around my ankles, to do around the arms. So look at this, all the resistance that I'm doing over here, right? Doing this, there's not much, except that my arm wants to go down. So yes, doing this is better than just doing this all day long. Can we improve? Absolutely we can. Very inexpensive tools that you can take with you when you travel, because all this together is not a kilogram, okay, or 2 pounds that would be in the US. This is not a kilogram. And then you can have like a jump rope, if this is very simple, right? You can start practicing the jumping. Don't want to have a jump rope, so just start jumping on the house. 2 minutes of you jumping on place a day already improves bone density. 2 minutes. Hey, you watching TV? During the commercial, let's jump, okay? Don't have to do much more than that. Now you want more resistance, more cardiovascular, start moving more of the body, right? Do a jumping jack. So this is more. Do a high knee. Do a butt kick. So you see what I'm saying? I want you to think about the activities that you do with your body and how can you actually step it up. Because it's not only about the bones, but the muscles that you're going to be actually here for many reasons, not only to make us look good, but also to protect the bones. Right? And doing all this, you're going to be doing what? You're going to be challenging more of your posture. Imagine you doing a lunge. A lot of people have problems doing a lunge, not only because they have knee issues, but also because of actually the balance that requires for you to just do this. Doing that. And then some people start falling like that, they cannot come back. So I want you to start thinking about if you're walking on the street, and all of a sudden, maybe you're distracted with a phone and you trip. If you don't have good musculature on your legs, your glutes, and your core, you will probably easily fall. And normally what happens, we fall with the hip or the wrist. And if for some reason we are not aware our bone density and the quality of the bones, which can be done other testing besides the DEXA scan, then we can find out that we have osteoporosis, okay? And we can break, and then the whole thing starts. So you want to do everything you can in your power to prevent this. A bonus out of all this on exercising is, remember I talk about osteoclastin and I talk about glutamate, the neurotransmitter? That's what exercise will do too. It's going to actually boost them up. So, which is also going to boost our metabolic function as well, because osteocalcin is involved on that. And so is all the other benefits of exercise. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And if you would like any more information, or a chance to kind of get started, or how to boost the your practices and so on, you can reach out to me at bfabbu.com. And I have my Strong Bones for Life program coming back in this September. And it's a great program too. It's more like a group program of opportunity to do one-on-ones as well. And that includes fitness and also information and knowledge to get you, on that right path of good bone health. So any questions?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Maria. That's fantastic. So has anybody got any questions for Maria? I had forgotten about osteocalcin. And
say again?
I had forgotten about osteocalcin. And these things are so important for insulin sensitivity. So it's not just the number of insulin receptors in the muscle, but the importance of the bone as well.
Yes.
So Nicola's asking if you can reverse osteoporosis with exercise.
I'm not quite sure about reversing. I don't like to use the word reverse. First of all, I'm not a medical doctor to do that. What I like to focus is, improving the condition. So with exercise, not only are you going to improve the health of your bones, you're going to improve the health of your body, physical, mental, and emotional. So this is a kind of a practice, right, that I would include on a day-to-day to be diverse practice, not only for the walk, or not only a yoga, or not only one thing. You have to move in different directions. So yes, there are claims out there that exercise can do that, but alone, no. It will help grow, right, expand, because you can actually deteriorate even more once you get osteoporosis if you don't make any changes nutritionally or physically. But it's complex. By the time you get osteoporosis, there is a severe deterioration. So we are here to kind of say how to actually grow some, because like I said, is a living tissue, so it's changing every day. So we have a say on that. Now, but exercise alone will rarely do that. We'll have to be a complex kind of, holistic approach to help reduce the chances of worsening.
Yeah. And Nicola says that she developed osteoporosis from breastfeeding, which is incredible, isn't it? And
got osteoporosis from breastfeeding?
Yeah, and in some of the medical circles, people are recognizing that some people need additional vaginal estrogen when they're breastfeeding, because there is a very real estrogen depletion that happens. So yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder also with the, that could be also a combination of other things, right, Allie? Depending on the levels of vitamin D, calcium and D, that is going to help the calcium and other minerals. So during that breastfeeding part of a woman's life, there is a lot involved, a lot of demands on the body. So if the person is already kind of coming to pregnancy with a weaker body, that is going to be quite challenging,
Absolutely. And then Sharon's asked, is exercise the most important factor in protecting the bones? And how long do you feel that we need to train every day?
No, I don't think it's the most important factor. I think that's one of the most important factor. And I want to kind of go back over here if you have in the screen. See, yeah, I didn't put this in any specific order, right? But look at this. This is very complex if you can read on the screen. Like digestive disorder, I would say that is indispensable, because if you cannot break down the foods and absorb the foods well, you know, the nutrients, that is going to be an issue for, you know, the body and for the bones to get the minerals that they need. So we have to look into the root cause of the problem. And I wouldn't say that digestion is part of the root cause. Yes, you know, sedentary lifestyle is one of the top ones too. But if a person has been smoking, which is the most degrading things for the bone that somebody can do and for health, period, right? And like I said, the vitamin, you know, imbalances. So it's complex, but exercise is one of the top. And as far as the length, I want to say that, you know, I vouch for you to do at least, you know, 10 minutes to 15 minutes a day, then not do it all, or even 5 minutes. If you say that your day is very busy, hey, if you just take time to jump up and down a few times, that is better for your bones. Now, if you want to escalate this for other health benefits, now you want to probably add, not probably, you will want to add higher grade of resistance to your body, more cardiovascular, and you know, and the resistance to build more muscles. So, you know, my workouts sometimes they vary to be 15 minutes, high intensity. Sometimes I just go for walks. Sometimes I go for jogs. I like rowing. Last night I rowed for almost 7,000 kilometers. And then I do sometimes longer workouts that involve body weights and, you know, weights. As you can see, I have the whole gym over here behind it. You guys cannot see it. So I like to kind of, you know, make exercise part of my lifestyle. What is maybe, if it's not every day, you know, that I do something that is more resistance based, but at least 3 to 4 times a week. Okay. And I want you to look at your schedule. I want you to see what you're doing, you know, what you're doing today, and how can you bump it up. And even if you start adding weights or resistance bands or something like that, you know, a few movements in your routine, that already start counting, and you grow and increase from there.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a couple more questions, but I think time's moving on. So I will come back to those other questions if there's time at the end. All right. So I'll now invite Claudia to talk about eye health, which is amazing what she's been doing.
Hello, hello.
Hi, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Do you want to share anything about me, or am I just going to start?
Okay, so Claudia, I know her from the nutritional endocrinology course. She has an amazing history of experiencing bullying from wearing glasses at school, which I did as well. So, you know, glasses when you're at school can be quite a problem, although it's sort of more accepted now than it was in our childhood. And she found by experience that stress was involved in her vision, which was amazing. So and Claudia has a 5-day challenge coming up, which is very exciting. Over to you, Claudia.
All right, so welcome everybody. Yeah, like Dr. Allie kind of alluded to, I used to wear glasses. I don't anymore, and I just turned 60. And I don't want to, you know, we don't have enough time to share my whole story, but basically I found a method to help improve my eyesight naturally, which is really the only way you can actually improve your eyesight. So I'm curious, most of you don't show your image, but can you like raise your hand or your little Zoom hand? Who wears glasses here? I'm just curious, who has glasses? You know, okay, got you. And then, okay, I see some Zoom hands going up. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So here's the thing, right? We are told as we get older, as we hit our 40s or our 50s, we're going to need reading glasses, and it's just going to go downhill from here. And that's nothing you can do. And here's my message before I even begin teaching you. It's like, we can always do something. I love how Maria shared her story and her tips. We can always do something, right? It's like, it's very common to lose near vision ability when you get older, but does it mean that it's normal? Definitely not. And I have lots of examples of older people, even my friend Sandra Raz, who died last year at 101, who never needed glasses. So I'm just, who has noticed here that glasses make your vision worse? Like when you wear them, that after you wear the glasses or over a few years, maybe you started with readers, you know, and before you knew it, your distance vision wasn't great anymore. So who has noticed that as you begin to wear glasses, that your vision actually doesn't get better, but it gets worse? And here's the interesting thing. I was doing a talk yesterday and I shared some of my favorite books. And I discovered this book again that I had bought many years ago. And this is written by the American Vision Institute. 3 optometrists, one is a researcher. And, you know, so I was like looking at this book yesterday. This was written in 1996. And I just want to quote a few things from here because I think it's so interesting, because these are actual optometrists, like eye care professionals, right? So they say in the foreword, pretending that the traditional use of corrective lenses is safe and effective is no longer acceptable. The public must be told the truth and given accurate information about the alternative methods of treatment now available. And I'm going to read a couple more things here because I didn't remember this was all in this book. So the basic problem with, and corrective lenses is always in quotation marks here. The basic problem with corrective lenses is that they don't really correct anything. Think about it. If they did, people would wear them for a while and then they wouldn't need them anymore because the eyes would have been returned to normal. A vast amount of clinical experience, as well as countless complaints from patients, leave no doubt that corrective lenses usually create dependency and make the eyes lose even more of their natural focusing power. And here's the last bit. I just thought this was like really mind-blowing because, you know, most doctors don't tell you that. Here they say the truth is that no clinical studies have ever demonstrated the long-term safety or effectiveness of corrective lenses. To put it bluntly, the traditional method of prescribing these products is an untested and unproven form of treatment. In fact, much of the traditional eye care is based on a series of unproven assumptions, many of which are wrong. The problem is that prescribing corrective lenses is so lucrative that most traditional eye doctors have no desire to change the status quo, right? So we all believe as we get hit our 40s, whatever, vision is just is inevitable. And even with healthcare practitioners, right? And Allie, I think you said that too. Even with healthcare practitioners, holistic doctors, there's literally a blind spot when it comes to eyesight. It's like, how eyesight is just this one thing that you can't do anything about. It just goes downhill and off you go. So my other thing I wanted to share with you, who has noticed that your eyesight varies, you know, within the day, maybe, you know, when you're stressed, like who has noticed that there is, right? Maria raised her hand, Dr. Ali raised her hand, Julie. Okay, so vision varies for everybody because vision is connected to our central nervous system. And I don't want to give you a whole anatomy lecture, but when you're in a stressed out mode, right? When you're in that fight or flight mode, to simplify it a little bit, which a lot of us are now all day long, your vision, your pupils dilate, your peripheral vision shuts down, you know, you're kind of staring, you're in that the deer in the headlight kind of situation. So when you're in that constant stress, which kind of also stops your breathing, your digestion shuts down, like all these things, right? That will make your vision worse. So the first guy, or the first person who ever discovered this was an ophthalmologist who lived 100 years ago. He actually wrote a famous book. I have it down in my bookshelf, Perfect Sight Without Glasses, Dr. William Bates. He taught in New York. He was a professor at Columbia. And he got really interested when he noticed that some of his patients, their vision got better. And he's like, wait a minute, I didn't learn that in ophthalmology school like this. So he was curious, and it took him decades of learning and studying and working with thousands of patients, but he found it that created that Bates method, right? The method of how you can improve your eyes naturally. And the root cause of poor vision is, and just oversimplified term, it's strain. And strain is often here in the mind, right? In the brain is where we, like, because who has experienced that you're really anxious or stressed out, even though there was like no physical thing like an accident or something to be panicked about, right? Like anxiety, it's really in your head a lot of times. But your nervous system doesn't know the difference. Doesn't know if something is real danger or imagined or just happening in the brain. So he realized that relaxation is really he called it the cure, but relaxation is the only way to improve your eyesight, like to basically see clearly. And I'm sure, yeah, well, no, not really, Catherine. Here's the thing. There is a certain time that, yes, some of the body cells, some of the retinal cells, right? They kind of, the mitochondria in the retina, which is the little battery that every cell has, they do lose some power when you age. And I will give you a tip of how to stop that and reverse that actually, or rejuvenate those cells. But here's the thing, it's really a lot of the things that, you know, everybody else is talking about, all the things we do, like exercise, right? All these things are important. Blood flow. The brain uses more oxygen than any other part of the body. And the cells that use the most energy in the whole body are brain cells. And out of those, the most energy is used by retinal cells, the cells in, you know, in your eye that actually see. So it's super important, like the diet, all these things, water intake, sleep, all these things are important. So I don't want to give a lecture on that because you already get that from everybody else, but all these things are definitely helping with your vision. So basically, I want to give you a few tips. So once you've noticed that your vision varies, kind of, you know, and maybe everybody take your glasses off for a moment. Take your glasses off if you wear them. And I hear that a lot from people. I'm blind as a bat. I can't see a thing. Like, maybe you've said that before. But look around. Like, notice all the things you can see. Yeah, maybe some of them are blurry, but there's a lot of things you can see, right? So changing the mindset to be like focusing on what you can see versus all this stuff. Like, we know now from quantum physics that our thoughts actually create an energy, and the energy can change physicality. So if you keep telling yourself, I'm blind as a bat, I can't see a thing, that will make it actually worse, right? So the mind is really the point where things start. And we do also see with the brain, 90% of our vision is in the visual cortex here in the back of your head. Yeah, I always jokingly say the eyes don't know a table from a chair. The eyes don't know anything, right? But what does traditional eye care do? They focus 100% on this 10%. They focus everything on this part here. They don't focus on your brain, how you perceive things, how you feel, you know, emotions have an impact on your vision. So I want to do some practical things with you because I don't, you know, again, I could easily speak for 4 hours about all the important theory and why this is important. But I really want you to get some takeaway tips here today. So when you've taken off your glasses and you notice all the things you see, and if you take your glasses off more, you might be more in tune with what I call strains and gains. So what are the things that make your vision worse? For me, as an example, like lighting, right? Lighting is usually common, or maybe being on the screen a lot, or maybe not being outside in nature. Maybe it is, you know, stressful night, not getting enough sleep, reading small print. Okay, great. Yeah, I love, like, share in the chat, like what things make your vision worse. Maybe you get some ideas. For me, it also could be a task. Like, I hate Excel spreadsheets. I'm a creative person. When I look at like numbers and spreadsheets, like, I literally don't want to see that. And Dr. Bates called those things pessimoms, like things like, for most people, the eye chart is a pessimom, right? Who loves looking at an eye chart? I do. But usually, like, there's a lot of things that could make your vision worse. And then what are the things that make your vision better? Is it after exercise? Is it after having fun, laughing, you know, being outside in nature? Like, what are the things, being calm and relaxed, maybe after meditation or yoga, or so just tuning in, because that will help you detect your own strain patterns. Like, what are your patterns? You know, maybe you know, it's common to stop breathing, right, when we are stressed out. So the first thing is to notice your strains and gains, or your optimums and pessimoms, however you want to call them, and then be really aware. Like, when I'm now doing a Google, when I do like a spreadsheet, I know this is not my favorite thing, but I use the good vision habits and the breath to calm me down, and then I can get through this, you know, without any effect on my eyesight. So first of all, Who has ever heard of palming, like resting your eyes? Has anybody ever heard of that? No? So our eyes, much like everything else in our body, likes to rest sometimes, right? Especially when we feel, oh, Leah has heard of it. When we feel strained. So palming is a super simple thing you can do. It's basically, you can ask, first of all, you can always just close your eyes. You can just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. You know, sometimes just shutting it down, you know, stopping that visual field. The other thing is the palming, you can rub your hands together really quickly, and you can all do it, rub them together quickly, create some heat. And then, you know, it's nice to have some elbow support. So then you cup your cupped hands, you cover your eyes. So you're not touching the eyes at all. The heels of the hands will be resting on the bony part of your eye socket. So, and if you were to open your eyes, it would be pretty black, but make sure you close them. And I'm going to lean against my desk because I'm standing on a balancing board here. So take a few deep breaths. Deep inhale and exhale, maybe even sigh it out. Oh. And then bring something to mind that makes you feel happy, something where you're like, maybe a vacation, maybe a favorite person, maybe a specific spot, maybe some place in nature. Just think about that and how good that it's like a place or something that comes to your mind where you're like, oh, yeah, that was nice. It's really good just to think about that. Notice your tension floating away. You can imagine with every inhale, fresh energy is coming up all the way through your feet up into your eyes. And with every exhale, all the tension, the strain, the stress dissolves, flows down through your body into the earth. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. All right, and we don't want to, I like to palm sometimes doing meditation for up to 10 minutes. But so to come out of it, keep your eyes closed. So don't rip them open, keep them closed. Slowly, slowly, slowly move the hands away. Keep your eyes closed. So just wait. It takes a little bit of time to get adjusted to the light. And then I'd like you to do something that we call flashing, where it's kind of a reverse blink. So you just really briefly open your eyes, like for a split second, you open your eyes and you close them again. And just notice all the things that you saw in that really short moment. And did you make any effort? Was there any effort involved in doing that? Maybe turn your head a little bit to another direction, open your eyes again, and notice, was there any effort involved in seeing all those things? Or were you basically just receiving information in your brain? And you can do that one more time if you want. Open your eyes quickly. Right, it was effortless. It was effortless, just like hearing, smelling, tasting. You don't make an effort to do those things. And when you want to finally come out of it, you blink your eyes open like 5 quick, like little butterfly blinks, blink, 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 and then 5, just squeeze your eyes a little bit, just squeeze them. All right. How do you feel? Do your eyes feel more lubricated and refreshed? Yeah, let me know in the chat or raise your hand, or let me know if you found that a little bit, if you found that relaxing. Right? Yeah, Leah said yeah. So, right, just it's like we didn't even spend a lot of time, right? Maria said yes. We didn't spend a lot of time. So giving your eyes a little break, you know, the palming is really that warm cocoon, you know, it's so powerful to take these little breaks. Another thing I want to give, another tip I want to give you, I have actually 4 more tips for you. So we've been told that sunlight is really bad for the eyes. However, sunlight is actually good for the eyes, right? There's always exceptions, and I'm not talking about like extreme, like skiing in white snow and bright blue sky. And if you have certain eye diseases, you know, remember the medical disclaimer here. But here's the thing, we have built-in sunglasses, we have pupils. When it's dark, your pupils are wide, and when it's bright, the pupils are small. So the more you wear dark sunglasses, and I used to be so light sensitive, I wore sunglasses every day, even on an overcast day. So I couldn't even be outside without sunglasses. So then your pupils never practice like opening and closing, right? And light sensitivity is connected to so-called refractive errors, refracting the light, right? Farsightedness, nearsightedness, astigmatism are all refractive errors. So light sensitivity is connected to that. So the thing here's, I mean, without a big anatomy lecture, but the cone cells in our retina are the ones that see clearly and that give you color vision. You might have noticed at night, if there's no artificial light, you don't see any colors, you don't see details. It's pretty much just grainy, like, you know, that's why the FBI agents always have those night vision goggles on when they go into some kind of dark places, right? So the cone cells only work in light and they need light. And we get a lot of vitamin D through our eyes. So, and here's the other little tip I wanted to give you. Sunlight has the full spectrum, right? And even if it's not sunny, if it's just, even if it's cloudy daylight, has the full spectrum. And they recently did studies actually in the UK, before they did them with mice and now they did them with humans in the UK last year. They found that infrared light, which is for free in the sunlight, natural light, helped rejuvenate the mitochondria and human cells in over 45. So younger people, right? Younger people, they have perfect mitochondria. They don't need that. But when you're older, they slowly lose, like a car battery, right? How it slowly loses its power. So they did a test where they had 2 weeks, 3 minutes, and they found 25% of rejuvenation just in that short time. So you can get one of these infrared lamps, or you can just be outside and get that for free. So that's what I prefer, right? Just go outside. And then also I highly recommend not wearing sunglasses. Depending, again, you might slowly wean yourself off. I haven't worn them in 18 years. My night driving, that was a problem with the headlights. It's not bothering anymore. So my pupils are now really fully able to contract quickly and open up quickly. But yeah, there's definitely exceptions for certain eye conditions where you do want to have sunglasses. For sure. Yeah, great, right? I don't, how do Johanna, exactly. So we are so, again, this is a very lucrative industry, right? Billions of dollars. In America alone, like $30 billion was spent on eye care, and the majority of that was spent on glasses, sunglasses, prescription glasses, and contacts, right? I mean, that's a ton of money. So another thing you can do with sunlight, if you're not quite ready to ditch your sunglasses, is just go outside into the sun, have the sunlight, you know, especially the morning sun is great. Have the sunlight face you. We can't really do that here. I guess I can do it with a torch, or with what you call a torch in the UK. I learned because I did my teacher training in London. I was like, what is a torch? I thought that was a flame. So, you know, what we can do is also just, you know, with actual sunlight, I would just turn my head side to side, noticing that when one eye is in the shadow, right, that's when the pupil opens a little bit, and then you come to center, and then exhale to the side, inhale, center. So you go side to side, and that helps also improve the pupil, contraction. And you do that, you can do it with eyes closed. Once you get used to that, you can open your eyes on the side. So you can slowly progress that way. Sunning and palming together are really, you can even do little sandwiches, like a little bit of sunning, then some palming. The palming rejuvenates the rod cells, the ones that work at night, and the sunning rejuvenates the cone cells. So you kind of do with a little bit of a sandwich, right? You can really improve both types of retinal cells. And I recommend either you do sunning and then palming afterwards for about twice as long, or you do those kind of sandwiches where you alternate. And then I don't know how much more time I have. Here's another thing that blew my mind. I don't have a model of the eyeball. I have it behind the big poster there. But basically, the only area where we have perfect clarity is the fovea. It's inside the macula. You might have heard of macular degeneration. It's a tiny, tiny spot. It's like the size of the tip of this little rollerball pin. It's very, very small. That's the only area where we ever have perfectly clear vision. I was like, what? Who's surprised by that? Who's surprised that we have very small area of clear vision? So because of lack of time, I usually do the 2 thumbs, but we can actually do the 2 thumbs real quick. So have 2 thumbs up, and you start maybe a foot away from each other, or something like a good distance, and then look at the left thumb. Notice how you see that better than the right one. And depending on how far away, you might not even see the right one. It might be so far in your periphery. Then switch your gaze to the right one and notice how you see that one better. And then move them closer together. You know, you can, most of you will probably get that quickly. But the thumb that you look at will look better. Even if it's not clear, let's say it's a little blurry, even if it's not clear, it looks better than the other one. And then touch the palms to get the thumbs. And again, look at the left one. Notice how you see that better, and ideally clearly. And the other one is not quite as clear. And then use one and look at the side of one and notice how that side looks better or clearer than the other side. You can always do that on Zoom as well. When you look at any letter, notice how, so basically what that means is that it's called central fixation. It means that if we try to stare and try to see our phone, see the whole thing everything clearly at once, you're trying to see with cells in the retina that can never see clearly. What is the solution? The solution is lots of moving your attention around, focusing, noticing that you can only see one little spot. The rest is the amazing peripheral vision, right? We have this kind of IMAX movie peripheral vision, right? And great vision is both the peripheral vision and the central focus. But here's what glasses do. Glasses kind of give you that tunnel vision because you think, and the peripheral vision is not good for anyone. In fact, in the outer periphery, we have no color perception. All we see is movement. So if something is moving here, you wouldn't be like, what? You would be like, what? And you would turn your head around, right? You would face it straight on because that's why we have the central vision. So good vision is really both. And that's one thing that I do in my work is encouraging the peripheral vision because we have that strain on the central vision, staring into the screen. Have you ever been in the office and you walk up to somebody and they're really focused and then they don't move and then you're like, hey, oh my God, what you know. So that's a sign that you're kind of totally ignoring your periphery. And a little tip for that, anything moving in your periphery is helpful. So I have this little, this little thing I have that here, or you can, another little tip on your computer, you can have a little GIF or a YouTube video or something really small, playing at the bottom of your screen, or if you have a second monitor like I do, you can have a little moving thing there, or if you have a cat, you can put the cat tower next, something moving is always good to kind of keep that peripheral vision or awareness open.
That's great. Thank you, Claudia. That's amazing. So if you'd like to put any questions in the text, I will make a note of them because we need to move on to Catherine now.
But I just wanted to say, if you want to learn more, and that's the last thing, it's I have an upcoming free course, 5 Days to Better Eyesight Experience. It starts on Monday. The calls are all at 11 a.m. Pacific, which is that, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. UK time. So I would love for you to join me. Do you want me to put the link in the chat?
Yeah, and I'll also be sending it out. It'll be also on the replay page. So I'll be putting it in the replay page for people. So,
awesome.
Great. So do let me know if you have any questions, folks. And now I'd just like to introduce Catherine, if I may. So Catherine Colas and I go back a long way. I wouldn't be in the hormone field without Catherine. Catherine and I met for a coffee or for lunch, I think, about 10 years ago or more. And she told me how much difference bioidentical hormone therapy made to her life. And she is an amazing pioneer for menopause and for improving people's perception of menopause in the workplace. And one of the things that's amazing, she actually had the courage to go on morning breakfast TV years ago, before it was talked about, and talk about how it had changed hers and her husband's life. So Catherine, I know that you're passionate about improving the perception of menopause in the workplace. You've got some amazing courses and you now have an academy. So do tell us your your next steps. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that introduction, Alison. I've never had an introduction before where we've been talking about vaginal atrophy, so that's the first. But yes, I was on Breakfast Time TV talking about vaginal atrophy. for about 10 minutes actually, and it was very intense, and I was so passionate about telling everybody about it because nobody understands what's going on in the female body. And I've had such an education here this evening. I was diagnosed with osteopenia, which is the forerunner of osteoporosis. I thought I was fit and healthy. And, you know, finding about the eyes, I've got to put my glasses on, by the way, because I've made some notes and I need to just refer to them from time to time. But yes, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Why did I start doing all this stuff? And about 12 years ago, more than 12 years ago now, I was at the back end of recovering from going through 10 years of hell of menopause. I had a really, really terrible time, diagnosed with depression. I self-diagnosed with bipolar, and I know how serious a mental health issue that is, but I discovered that transitionally, it's very common in women going through menopause. Who knew? Who's telling us all about this? Nobody. And the fact that we have a tendency to put on weight because of through the food we eat, it's being stored as fat instead of energy. But we can change all that, as we've had this evening through these brilliant talks that we've had already. And through the terrible stuff that happened to me, it took me a long time to realize that hormones can be so powerful, both physically and emotionally. And, you know, my marriage was on the rocks, and it was really purely because my hormones, up and down like a fiddler's elbow, were causing me to fight and cry and do such crazy things. And I really thought I was going round the bend. I had no idea it was I was transitioning menopause. It was years before I understood that. I was even diagnosed with depression, and at no time did anybody who was giving me the treatment or the doctor, did they say to me, it's probably got something to do with your hormones, Catherine, because I was post-menopause at that time, and I still didn't know. I hadn't made the connection. So I was on a mission. I went to medical conferences and I joined the British Menopause Society. I'm still a member there. I was the first lay person to be voted on to their medical advisory committee, which was a huge feather in my cap for me, sitting around a table with all these ologists that know so much stuff, and there was little me. And I've just come on, you know, fits and starts over the years. What do I do with all this information? And it originally started because I was going to medical conferences and talking to people there. I would be invited to universities and hospitals when they were having special days to talk about my own experiences. And also because I had resigned from my own job, I had a senior executive role, and I just couldn't make a decision to save my life. And I thought everybody was ganging up on me. Little did I know how much women's perception changes because of the result of our hormones. It was all news to me, and I thought, well, I've got to tell everybody about this. So I've gathered all this information, and because I'd resigned from my own job, I knew that the workplace needed to know about this as well. And so I began to be invited into the workplace. Firstly through the police, the fire service, and then through other private and public enterprises. And I kept telling them, your managers need some training. They need to understand the women in their teams. Women are working longer than they've ever done before. We're making history. I read some research today that just reminded me about how many million women working are still working. It's, you know, it's 4.5 million women, over 4.5 million women, and that's just the ones between 50 and 64. We've got to bring in the 40-year-olds to that, so it's getting on for squillions, and we need to do something about it. Doctors sadly don't get the education in their medical training, and if they do take it up later on, it's self-funded. And so it's a difficult path that we tread. So it's up to us as women individually to find out more about how our body functions and what the hormones are doing to our bodies. But also for the workplace, they are in an ideal situation to get some learning for their managers, for OC Health, HR, and really they're not having a biology lesson, I should say. We're just showing them, giving them some tools to recognize menopause, giving them the basics of when menopause can start and finish, and not to forget early menopause, and about the other diseases that we've already spoken about this evening, the degenerative diseases that happen in women long before men as a result of losing estrogen as we transition menopause. And who wants to be a woman? There's just so much activity going on in our bodies that we need to just get a handle on and understand it better, and come to terms with our health so that we can get better at it. So now, as Alison said, I started off with my first website was simply hormones. And I've now, a couple of years ago, met a lovely lady who's as passionate as I am and has a completely different side to her. So between the two of us, she's now my business partner, and we've developed the Catherine Colas Academy. All our training is CPD accredited, and we have one pretty unique program, which I'd like to tell you about, where we appeal to professional trainers and coaches. So they are already going out into the workplace and talking to everybody about leadership roles, change management, COVID-19, the new hybrid working conditions that we are experiencing now. And they want to have another string to their bow, shall we say. So we're teaching them how to go into the workplace and talk about menopause to those managers, and just spread the word, because there's not enough of us. Yes, I now have competition, but there's not enough of it. We need so many more people out there talking about menopause. And we also do a program in the workplace that we call menopause ambassadors. So we can have managers or health champions or special people in the workplace. Again, they become the focal point in the workplace. They understand all the different processes, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, some of the symptoms, and it's got nothing to do with medicine. This is a non-medical intervention, and we're just talking about people's experiences, my experience, your experience, how we've coped with it, comparing notes, and then recommending the right people to go to help you overcome certain disabilities that you might have as a result of not just menopause, but the degenerative diseases that you might now be experiencing, like type 2 diabetes, that you can absolutely do something about with the right nutrition. Talk to Alison about that. And of course, osteoporosis. I thought I was fit and healthy, diagnosed with osteopenia, and I've turned it around, and I'm on HRT, and that's what turned it around for me. But I am so now well aware of the exercise I'm doing. I live on beautiful forest around here, so I'm hiking more or less every day, and of course, so that's the right type of exercise that I need to, and I can feel my legs and my hips are so much stronger now than probably they've ever been pre-menopause. And last but not least, the other program, one of the other programs we have in the workplace is guidelines and policy. The workplace, the managers, the C-suite, the all senior managers within the workplace need to, it's a good idea, should I say, to have at least guidelines at the minimum, and perhaps a policy, so that we can embed this menopause story within the overall health and well-being strategy of the workplace. Because for so many times, for so many years, it's been touched upon. Come in and do a workshop, come in and or do a webinar, and then that's the end of it. No, we need to have a long-term strategy so that there's a turnover of managers that are learning about menopause, just as they learn about mental health and first aid and all the other things that the workplace is now being genned up on. Menopause is, it's there, and it's got to be accommodated now, because this is the first time in our history that women are working to such a longer age, and it's the first time that it's cropped up in the workplace. Pensions being payable are much later. There are so many reasons why women are still working, and it's absolutely brilliant that they are. They're ready for it. You know, I won't tell you how old I am, but I'm well post-menopause now, and I just wake up every day feeling brilliant about my day and what I'm doing. So we are still valuable commodities within the workplace. We can put a price tag on that value. So we need to keep women happy, healthy, and knowledgeable about their own health, so that they can have a better quality of life for so much longer than our parents had, for instance. I don't know how much time I've got, Alison, but I can wax lyrical all day if you like, but happy to start answering questions.
You're welcome to talk for a little longer if you like, another 5 minutes, and then we'll do
Okay.
questions. At the moment, there's loads and loads of comments of support and reporting, you know, agreeing how important this is for women and men to understand menopause in the workplace.
Yes.
You know, but if you'd like to talk for another 5 minutes, that would be great about what you're doing.
Yes, and thank you for mentioning men. Most of the managers in the workplace, as you know, are male 40. And so we must bring men into the conversation. And it's affecting relationships as well. As I said, affected my relationship. We nearly got divorced. And I interviewed my husband post-menopause and said, you know, what was it like living with a woman going through menopause? And so he said it was like living with a stranger, and I was not the person that he used to know. And then I said, well, you know, we had a long chat. Tears were streaming down my face by this time, because I just felt so awful about how I put him, the things I put him through over a period of years. And then I said, if you could put together what it was like in a short sentence, how would you describe menopause? And he said, menopause is like a hurricane. It's dangerous and deadly. And I thought, wow, that's a profound statement. Actually, I didn't tell you about my book. In the meantime, I wrote a book just before lockdown in March last year. We had I managed to publish it, and we had a party up in London. It was absolutely brilliant. It's called How to Survive Menopause Without Losing Your Mind. It's a positive manual of stuff. There's a chapter in there for men called The Men's Room, and a chapter on the workplace. And I'll give Alison a voucher code actually that she can put up so that you can get it for a special price. Directly from me. You can get it on all the well-known book places, but if you have it direct from me, you'll get a special discount. And that was wonderful writing that book. That was so cathartic, and it just came together. I had stacks of paper all over a desk in different chapters, as well as stuff on my desktop. And then bringing it all together for the book has just been brilliant. I do have an intention of writing 3 books in total. And after the end of that, I was really hot to carry on writing and do the one for the workplace. But then I met my business partner, Angela, and we started to develop the academy. So that's sort of gone on the back burner, but I will get back to that. And the other book was especially for men. So I'm really looking forward to doing that one too.
That would be great. Okay, so I'll just read some of the chats. So do let me know if you've got any specific questions. Joe is asking, does this apply to a postmenopausal 70-year-old, as in the book, I think? And I'm sure it's got some important pointers in there.
Yeah, definitely, because you know, I've done a lot of presentations, and afterwards women come up to me and they say, I thought I'd gone through the menopause without a hitch, didn't notice it at all. But listening to what you've just been describing, I now know that this happened, this happened, this happened, and I've managed to join up the dots and realized what was going on in my life at that time to cause those things to happen. So, you know, just on reflection, it settles your mind about certain things that are happening. If you've had a breakup of a marriage, understanding even afterwards that potentially that was as a result of your hormones is huge. And I remember on Woman's Hour, BBC Woman's Hour, one day I just managed to switch on the radio, and there was a doctor speaking, and he said, if only I'd known more about menopause, I would still be married to my wife. You know, can't say more than that, can you really? It's tragic. It can be tragic. And yes, you might have reached a stage where you don't want to be with your partner anymore, but there are so many relationships where they just don't understand. The guys don't understand menopause, the woman's not understanding menopause, so they're coming at it from a position of ignorance, and so they're fighting, screaming at each other. I know what that's like, and it doesn't have to be like that. Don't do what I did. Learn from what I did to avoid experiencing all these things later on. Absolutely.
And one of my lead magnets is 12 hidden symptoms of menopause, because I'm passionate about helping people to recognize that the anxiety, the depression, the overwhelm, the feeling unable to make decisions, all of that is perimenopause. And people don't recognize it as such until they start getting hot flushes.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and feeling as if you've got dementia. I remember that feeling. And so many women say, oh, I thought I had dementia. Yeah. And it's my hormones. Palpitations. I thought I had heart problems. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? But panic attacks, they can all be attributed to our hormones as we transition menopause. And I call it roundabout, you know, those last 2 or 3 years, I call that section the tsunami, because that just seems to be where you have PMS on speed and everything just goes nuts and you feel unable to cope. It's a mad time. But imagine if we'd known about that a bit sooner, perhaps we could avoid it or reduce it, or at least come to terms with it because of that understanding.
And in the perimenopause, it's the commonest age for women to commit suicide as well.
Yes, yes.
45 to 50.
Yeah,
55, yeah.
It is. You know, I've seen stories in the paper where I remember one in particular where a woman had lost control of her car and driven into a tree. And then I saw her age, and I think she'd been drinking, and I thought, that's menopause. That's what's happening. You start, you know, alcohol dependency, drug dependency, all sorts of
dependency, things. Work dependency,
yes.
Workaholism, because you're balancing your life.
Yes.
We know that one as entrepreneurs, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So Joe is saying, what about extreme tiredness? And yes, fatigue, exhaustion is a very common symptom. And also in our 40s and 50s, all of the hormone systems go wrong. So I got my thyroid issue when I was 46, I think. I had my adrenal fatigue when I was 38, and I believe that was the beginning of perimenopause. So absolutely. So fatigue is a very common example of one of those symptoms.
Yes, because when it comes to the subject of menopause, so many women believe that it's for older women, when, as you and I perfectly know well, that hormones start to change around the age of 35. Yeah. So just imagine taking your mindset back to being a younger woman and thinking about what changes may have occurred. You may not notice anything. I certainly didn't till I was about 45, but to actually have the knowledge that your hormones are changing, and then that you can take control of what's going on and look at your nutrition, your exercise regime and everything. And you may not want to do all that, but in a way it's imperative if you want to have a good quality of life moving forward. So it's all about, you just got to take control.
Yeah, absolutely. Claudia asks, she'd love to order your book, but you probably don't ship to the US. Would it be easier for her to order it in the US Amazon store?
Yes, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Same with
Yeah,
Maria.
it's the post. I did send one to the States, and I can do that. And I'll check the postage. It's about 18 UK pounds, pound sterling. So whatever that equates to in dollars.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, it makes more sense for her to buy it from Amazon US. So Maria has pointed out to Joe that blood don't necessarily show, blood tests don't necessarily show anything at all. And that, as we know, that things like the saliva test and the urine test, the Dutch test, are more helpful with cortisol and steroid hormones. Joe was asking if all of this could if the fatigue could happen suddenly at 70. Obviously, that's looking at a case of looking at the root cause. So that means a lot more in-depth delving rather than just putting it down to hormones.
Yeah.
Laura Schuckberg says menopause is on the curriculum now or will be very soon, which is great news. And I had noticed there were some changes in the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
Joe,
I would like to say on that, because I was talking to a teacher recently and she said, yes, it's going on the curriculum, but who's going to run it? And if you've got a head teacher that doesn't buy into it, and then you get the teacher that's been given the responsibility of doing it and they don't buy into it, then you're not going to get a good result. So I think I'm talking to an organization now, a health insurance company that insures schools, that I think it would be a good idea to get the menopause training into the schools for the teachers, because as we know, 98% of teachers are women and female, and probably most of them are transitioning menopause as we speak. So if they understand it better, then they will then have the passion to teach this subject to the kids, and it is so needed.
And the kids will have more patience with their teachers as well.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But the thing about the concern about Alzheimer's is interesting, isn't it? Because when we are perimenopausal, our parents are getting older and going through Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And certainly, that's been the case for me and for many of us. Joe points out that a lot of us have teenagers when we're in perimenopause. So you've got a lot of hormonal stuff going on there. So there are so many things that are stressful around that age of life. And we also often have a sort of empty nest syndrome going on as well.
Yeah. Yes, I had a teenager, so we were both slamming doors at both ends of the house, really. It was great fun. But now, because of what I do, she is so knowledgeable about menopause, and she's always talking to her friends about it when they moan about their moms.
So that's a blessing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And Susanna says, thank you for sharing your experience. It's really striking a chord, such an important taboo to be breaking in the workplace.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and if I can help, I'm sure Allie will put my details up there. But just get in touch with me, and we can have a conversation.
Yeah, contact details will be on the replay page, including people's free gift as well. Laura says, I left my marriage in November and I'm certain perimenopause had an impact. So she wants your book as well. And Claudia says she would have loved your book 10 years ago, but now is better than never. Joe is saying that there's a woman in Ireland who escaped a murder charge because of extreme PMT.
Yes. Yeah.
And she was using that to try and get the attention of the school kids she was teaching, because she's been a teacher. She used to teach sex ed to boys in a single sex school. At first, I didn't see the point of discussing menstruation until she got a show of hands for those who had a female member of their household or wanted to live with or have relationships with or have friends who were female. So, it's having the skill to put it into context so people will listen to you. That's such an important skill as a teacher or as a professional speaker or as anybody who's spreading the word about anything. Absolutely.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Catherine. I think I won't give a talk today because it's already 7:30 and I have plenty of other opportunities to talk about testosterone. There's a couple of other questions. Joe had lots of questions to Claudia about vision. because says she has wrinkly retina. I don't know if that's cellophane maculopathy, which my sister has as well, which is a real problem. She has astigmatism and cataracts, partly due to being in Dubai, and she has dry eyes, so needs eye drops, and she has dyslexia, which means that she needs a sans serif and a lot of white space when she's reading. So Claudia, do you have any tips for Jo, and is it worth her doing your 5-day challenge?
Absolutely, definitely. So the palming, I had students that had LASIK and had severe dry eye syndrome, prescription eye drops. They got off eye drops. So the blinking frequently, the palming really helped, and then also omega-3 fatty acids are really important for eyes and to prevent dry eye or to reverse dry eye. So that's helpful. Astigmatism is related to posture. That was actually done by research in the 80s, and that's been replicated by several scientists. So you don't want to habitually move your eyes without your head. And I'm not talking about like owls, the birds that are just like, you know, robotically. But if you have, like, I have a second monitor here, and if I would always like glance over or just glance, but without moving my head, or I don't have readers here, but if you actually have blue blockers, so I can pretend that these are readers. So something that people with readers do, you know, they kind of have the readers down on the nose, and then they don't move their head to look up in the distance, but they just look over the rim. So if you always move your eyes like vertically like that without your head, you're gonna get an astigmatism axis in 90 degrees. So that, you know, I can often look at the prescription and determine what people are doing with their head and their eyes. So that's important, moving your attention. Like, that's why I like to think, move your attention, whether it's move your head or your eyes. Like, you just kind of like, when you move your attention, usually the head follows. Cataracts, it really depends on how far along they are. I've definitely seen people reverse them in the early stages. But like, everything I teach is based on relaxation and good habits, so that will always help. There's also a few supplements you can take, and then mindset. You know, I heard, wasn't my student, but another teacher's student, who visualized every day that her cat, like the cloudiness was just kind of like as if you have a squeegee, right? You clean your window, you squeeze it down, and then she went to an eye exam, and the cataract was only in the bottom of her lens, like literally. So I think that the thoughts that can be really powerful are the visualizations. And if you ever heard of the Heart Math Institute, like Heart and Math Institute, they have over 400 studies of the power of combining, you know, affirmations or thoughts with emotion. You can't just think it, you have to also feel that gratitude, that emotion, that happiness. So that, you know, it's more than just physical stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. It's, you know, and then the wrinkly retina, I know what it is, but I don't know if you can make changes to that. I always believe that body can change and shift, but I don't have like some kind of quick tip to do something about that.
Wonderful, thank you.
I've just to let you know, Ali, I've just put my website address and the voucher code in the chat.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. For Maria, there were a couple of questions. One was about supplements and osteoporosis, and the other was, how do you feel about power plates, Maria?
Supplements. You know, I believe that supplementation is a must, but I don't believe on doing supplementation without actually taking a deep look and deep dive into your body. Supplements are really to supplement, you know, fill in the gaps, or sometimes it's used to actually boost certain things, right? So I'm much more in the approach of taking a look from the root cause, which starts with your digestion, because we're talking about hormones, and Catherine was saying that, right? A lot of the problems of hormones start right here in the gut, because a lot of the hormones are made right into our digestive system, including neurotransmitters. So, you know, we don't think sometimes the gut, we think that constipation is okay, this and that, you know, it's not okay. It's really signs. So as far as supplementation is, we got to be really careful how we tread. So doing a deep analysis of your body, running, you know, some labs, having evaluated from a functional perspective, taking note and inventory of your symptoms, you know, that you have, how you feel on a daily basis, what are you eating? So you start addressing this stuff from the bottom. And so there's multiple brands of supplements, and there are some that are trusted, right? Where they're made and who is made. So there are many healthy options. I'm not the person who's going to say, take this for that. We got to figure out what is the root cause first. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you.
Power
plates.
Huh?
Power plates.
Yeah, power plates. I think they're great. You know, the power plates are going to challenge the balance, which is great. We talked about the importance of that. Is going to add some, you know, tension and friction. So it's going to increase the strength some. I'm not also a person or trainer who vouches for doing only one thing in life. You know, some people choose the walking on the hiking or the bicycling or the swimming only. The body needs to move in multiple directions and be stretched out. I mean, is challenged in different directions. Now, depending on the health circumstance, you know, what the person is, hey, if you have a cortisol issues, you're depleted, you know, and so on, we're not going to put you into a high intensity, you know, training because you need to restore your health first. But movement, regardless, is going to be important. So, you know, power plates are good. Is that the only way? No. Should be the only form? No. Is that a start? Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? The recording will be up probably Saturday, and you'll get an email if you've joined the mailing list through the link. You'll get a link to the replay on Sunday morning, and that will also include everybody's free gifts and offers and discounts. And I'm looking forward to having each of you talking in my Hot Women year-long membership program, the Hormone Optimization Tribe, in due course. And good luck with your launch, Claudia. And good luck with your book writing, Catherine.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I would love to have you as a guest speaker too, Allie. I think it's really great to have, you know, because there's so much to our health. It's not just one thing, and really putting all the puzzle pieces together, I think it's so helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And for everybody interested on, you know, my bone density, my Strong Bones for Health for Life program is coming back up. So stay in touch. You know, you can stay in touch. Go to my website and you can stay in touch with me if you want to get back into your exercise or boost it up. You know, you can get in touch with me too, and we can put a plan together. And there is always a starting point that is fairly inexpensive. So there's multiple ways to stretch ourselves out.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody. Well, testosterone will have to wait for another day. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time and attention, and look forward to seeing you all at some point online, I'm sure. Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.